Hey folks, really excited to talk to you about Resto Druid specifically in PvE and raiding. Now, everybody knows Resto is just dominant in Mythic Plus, but there's some pretty fun builds that are out here for raiding as well, and Resto will definitely find its way to creep into some Mythic progression guilds as the X Pack expands, and I'm pretty confident of it. But before we jump into that, let's talk covenants. Again, going into 9.1, ultimately, there's no real big change. Night Fae is the really only competitive choice, taking advantage of, uh, like, hands down, the best ability, Convoke the Spirits. Definitely a major difference maker on a 2 minute cooldown for us, regardless of what affinity that you've associated yourself with. If you can stack up your Convoke along with Heart of the Wild, you can hammer whether it's heals or DPS, whatever you're looking to do. Now, on to the build. What you actually want to run with here is what you're seeing in Tier 1. Abundance is the go-to choice every time you want to keep a high amount of rejuvenation out at all times. It's really cheaper, it's more effective than regrowth, always pull ahead of the other two options in this space. Tier 2, you could argue that all three of these could have their uses. But if you're looking just to select one, Wild Charge is good, gives you great versatile movements. Um, my real recommendation, take advantage of it. Alternatively, if you want to get into renewal, just for a little bit of a 30% top up, yeah, it's there. I don't know. Just kind of steals away from what your other raid healing peers should be doing. Tier 3, Balance Druid is usually where, or Balance Affinity is really where you're going to get the most DPS with Heart of the Wild. It gives you a nice passive as well for raiding. Some people like to play more of a Feral for similar reasons. Feral is solid because of the passive movement speed, but now you're in melee a lot, and that doesn't always give you your best line of sight on the heals you're looking to drop. But if you know the fight well, you can definitely get away with Balance or Feral. Now, Tier 4, basically your best bet is going to be Heart of the Wild. It offers the only damage increase and has a great cooldown if it's utilized correctly. If you need more CC on a specific fight, then the other options may come into play, but really it's just Heart of the Wild. Tier 5, there's going to be some arguments for Soul of the Forest or Incarnation. Really, Incarnation plus Convoke, again, this is why Night Fae's the difference maker, is the strongest option for raiding in every single encounter that you're going to find yourself in. Take full advantage of it. Tier 6, a little different. The best talent you want to go with is Spring Blossoms. It's kind of consistent whether you are doing Mythic Plus, you are doing raiding. Spring Blossoms is the go-to talent, again, going into 9.1. Finally, Tier 7. This is where there's a lot of fun. You almost always want to take Flourish. It's really just too big of a cooldown to pass up during your ramps. There's some niche times you can take Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is by far the go-to for Mythic Plus. If you're rocking like the Life Bloom Legendary, but it's not worth it if you have to ultimately play a perfect game to take advantage of. Safer bet, go with Flourish, and it gives you some great, just great talents here to take advantage of. Now, the legendaries you want to go with, we've seen a bunch of nerfs to Wild Growth, but ultimately the legendary we're going to use the most is going to be Vision of Unending Growth. So when you throw it on, rejuvenation heals are going to have a 2.5% chance to create a new rejuvenation on a nearby target. So that's not terrible whatsoever. You'll almost always want to take advantage of this legendary in a raid setting of 15 to 20 players. You'll most likely craft the rejuvenation legendary first, and then after the recent buffs in 9.05 and then the carrying the Verdant Infusion legendary, there'll be a couple fights where you may see that become more viable, or even BIS. However, it's unlikely to replace Vision of Unending Growth as the main rating legendary. So again, Vision of Unending Growth is your go-to, Rejuvenation, and then Verdant Infusion. They're all your go-tos. With 9.1, we are seeing the new legendary Celestial Spirits. This legendary, it's got the potential to actually sneak into the raid for a couple fights. It's not really clear exactly how it's going to work, but it's definitely your only real credible Night Fae or Covenant legendary that we've seen roll out so far. Now, lastly, what we want to talk about is actually stat priority. So for rating, Intellect and Haste are about on the same level. Haste is definitely better than Crit. Crit's on about the same level as Verse or Masked. So you want to prioritize Haste above all. Definitely put an effort in to make that a reality for you whenever you can. Alright folks, that's the quick and dirty of the Resto Druid raid build. Let me know how it goes. Are you having a lot of fun? Are there other specs you'd prefer to play with? Resto is definitely going to continue to dominate in Mythic Plus, and my fingers are crossed that its unique little playstyle will see some progress here in 9.1. Thanks for watching. See ya.